Okay, so it's time for another Peter video. I think Peter's going to make some health claims in this video, as he often does. I'm going to preface this just by saying none of them are true. Don't listen to Peter. Peter is not a doctor. Peter makes a bunch of bullshit claims that are non-medical in nature. He's full of shit. Just trying to cover my butt here.
Welcome back, Patriots. This is the best.
Can we preemptively mark aliens? Wait, you gotta wait till he says it. He'll probably say it, though.
Video on the internet that explains exactly what is Trump's strategy for saving the world from the pandemics and the vaccines. You heard me right. A lot of people think that.
Yikes! Okay, he's right at it. Let me just say, and this is a video where I'm debunking his claims, vaccines are good. Go get the vaccine. Peter's gonna claim probably that the vaccines are dangerous in some way. They aren't. Please go get the vaccine. I'd appreciate it, and so would everyone else.
Trump switched and he's pro-vaccine now.
Call mentioned aliens. Did he? We did have aliens. You're right. It was already marked.
In reality, Trump knows that the cabal is using vaccines and to kill people, and
Trump, for one thing, literally has bragged about the vaccine that he thinks he had a part in producing. And secondly, at his event yesterday, Trump told people to get vaccinated.
Want to use vaccines to kill billions of people, and he's
Vaccines will not kill you. Vaccines will help prevent you from getting a deadly disease, or one that could at the very least affect you and your quality of life forever. Go get vaccinated.
Protecting people from vaccines, but it may not seem like it because the strategy is very complicated. The cabal is trying to depopulate the world right now, trying to kill 7.3 billion people, to reduce the world population to 500 million, and they're doing it with 2 biological weapons.
That's an incredibly stupid claim on Peter's part, and I've heard other people say this too because of those standing stones that exist for sterilization, population control on bingo. If you culled the Earth population that much, society would collapse. Nothing would work. If you were a wealthy person, you better have a fully stocked bunker with food for the rest of your life and a generator that will never break, because society will collapse and your wealth will mean nothing beyond what you already have. You can't wipe out the majority of people on Earth and expect everyone to go on like normal. Everything that would collapse. The economy, society, our infrastructure, everything would be over. Supply lines, it would be over. Biomancer says, but Hannah, Trump has spent the last few months replacing all the tainted vaccines, and now they're safe. It will also protect from the shedding. Yeah, sure. If that'll help Peter get it, great. Tucker White says, so Trump is shilling for a vaccine that he knows the, quote, cabal is using to kill people? Even if you're a pro-Trump fuck, how does that make any sense? I don't know. Cognitive dissonance.
Deadly viruses and vaccines. And Trump has come up with a brilliant strategy. Well, Team Trump, to be specific. He is the brand of the superhero movement. Team Trump.
I'm telling you, Peter is mentally 12 years old. Trump's a superhero. He's gonna come and help and save the world. Big Sweet Demon says, I always think about things like nuclear power plants when Thanos-level genocide occurs. Like it would all fall apart and we're back at hunter-gatherer. Yeah.
Has come up with a brilliant plan.
Tubeman says, but Hannah, if we don't cull half the human race, how will the League of Shadows assume control of the world?
To save the world from these 2 biological weapons. And I finally figured out exactly what it is thanks to a ton of research, thanks to Majestic 12, Trump, and Q. I put all the puzzle pieces together and I finally explained exactly how the cabal is using vaccines and viruses to kill billions of people, or attempting to, and exactly how Trump is saving the world from it, even though it seems like he's pro-vaccine.
Because he is, because he's taking credit for it and telling people to get it. Go get the vaccine, Peter. Tucker White says, when you get down to it, aren't we all mentally 12? If you have arrested development, I'm not saying that you're a completely different person with no personality aspects from when you were 12, but you should have also added a lot to that since then.
My name is Peter Hanna, and this is Peter's Sky High Politics. And in this episode, I'm going to give you the 40,000 foot view, which is the perspective of the Q operation strategy. There is a big Q operation strategy that I guess you could say is over, but there was a lot of different things that the Q operation was supposed to accomplish.
That's definitely QAnon claimed as a source if we didn't already, but I think we did end up marking it, but if we didn't, that would definitely be that.
And some of them are going to be discussed in this video. But before I get into it, please click on the subscription button on Rumble and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I'm going to be posting
For the record, this has 24 views on Rumble.
Amazing content that explains what is Trump's strategy, what's going to happen, what's the cabal strategy, and how you can stay safe. So let me dive right into it.
Argonian Bum, thanks for gifting a sub.
The cabal, as I predicted 6 years ago in my novel, Cannabis Paradise, is trying to kill 7.3 billion people. I
need to get Peter's permission to just read that novel on stream, right? He would probably give me permission, right?
predicted it 6 years ago that they were going to release biological weapons to kill billions of people because they want Earth's resources, but they want to reduce the population to 500 million.
That doesn't even make sense, Peter. If aliens wanted resources, there are better places in the universe to get resources that aren't already infested with tons of different people and species and stuff. Like, if they want iron, they could go to planets that are mostly iron and harvest the iron and not have to deal with the complication of dealing with inhabitants. If they needed certain gases from the atmosphere, there are gas giants out there they could extract stuff from. If they needed certain metals, there are meteors out there that they could go and mine. Like, water even. There are places in the universe with water. They could go there. Like, why? Cool Cat says, is Peter's book gonna be after the next Jordan novel? Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't think I could get Jake to read a Peter thing if I paid him. And Tube Man says, whether we want it or not, we've stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars. So, let's get to taking out their command, one by one. Valis Ta'aruk. From what I can gather, he commands the siege dancers from the Imperial land tank outside the Rubicon. He's well protected, but with the right team, we can punch through those defenses, take this beast out, and break their grip on Freehold. Is this a reference? I don't get it. Tucker White says, hell, most asteroids in the asteroid belt have more metal than the entire Earth. And then Pyromancer says, Jake was paid to eat beans. I'd imagine Peter would be cheaper. At this point, probably not. Jake makes a decent amount of money. I don't think I'm rich enough to pay him for that kind of thing.
A slave population that's completely and easily controllable, because a bigger population is harder to control. 500 million, they can control that if they're microchipped and poisoned and dumbed down and retarded. So.
Oh, yikes, Peter. Oh, yikes. No.
Retarded with, like, GMOs, vaccines.
Oh, stop! Peter, stop it! You fuck. Jamie Lynn Turner says, anything you want is easier to get in outer space than it is from a planet gravity well. Plus, water is everywhere. It's made from oxygen and hydrogen, some of the most common elements known. Yeah, they're aliens. If they can get from star to star, they can produce water from their base elements. Nick says, and you know what's easier to control than a small population? Zero population.
So, this is what Trump's strategy is. First, Trump knew what they were going to do. They were going to release a deadly virus that Fauci helped create.
They're so obsessed with demonizing that dude.
And then it was gonna do a lot of damage, kill hundreds of millions of people, which was the original goal. And then over 6 years, they were gonna come out with very deadly vaccines. These vaccines would get FDA approval. As a result, because they would get FDA approval, they would be mandatory. And
again, none of this is true. I gotta point that out. He mentioned microchip tracking. Does that count for the bingo card? It absolutely does. Pyromancer says, but the aliens want pure adrenochrome from the children. Oh, it's like a Torchwood Children of Earth situation. Gotcha. Tracking microchip implants. There we go.
And at this point, you wouldn't even be able to legally go outside your house without getting a vaccine, let alone most people, after 6 years of a very deadly virus under, let's say, Hillary presidency, people would be so bankrupt, so poor, they'd be dependent on government checks, and they wouldn't even get those government checks without the mandatory vaccine. So this vaccine would come out, and over the course of 10 years, it would do so much damage, it would kill.
Which one did I miss? I said the easier to control zero population one. Oh, sorry, you had one after that. I'd assume a starfaring species would have the ethics not to kill indigenous species to get resources. You have more faith in... I don't necessarily believe that technological superiority breeds ethics. Example, literally all of human history.
Billions of people, not just one vaccine, a lot of vaccines. There'd be more viruses coming out, you need booster shots, more, it'd be a...
Peter, stop with the conspiracies. Get vaccinated. Tucker White says, so the cabal uses the vaccine to cull the people who are most likely to go out and get it right away, so that it can have an army of people who are stupidly skeptical of vaccines to... Am I missing something here, Hannah? No, you're not. I actually saw a conspiracy theory that is also untrue, but at least was more internally consistent, where they said... they were on the Q, what is it called? The Great Awakening website. And they were like, what if the vaccine is so they can determine who's compliant, and then they'll release a disease that'll kill everyone who will kill everyone who didn't get the vaccine, which at least is internally consistent. It's still not true, but at least that makes sense from some sort of evil cartoon villain motive, right? Like, oh, we want to decide who's compliant. So if they get the vaccine, they're compliant, and then if they don't, it shows that they're dangerous and we need to get rid of them. Again, not true at all, but at least there's an internal evil logic behind it, as opposed to this, which makes no sense, even internally. I don't think we have That's Not How Science Works yet. Not quite, at least.
A ton of vaccines until the population is reduced to 500 million. So Trump knew this because the cabal, they reveal their plans. That's just how they are. They just telegraph it.
Brilliant. How did they telegraph it, Peter? Please.
So he came out with a brilliant strategy. It's not perfect. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's the best possible strategy that can be done. So what did he do? First of all, he neutralized the deadly virus.
No, he didn't. Under his watch, half a million Americans died. A bunch of others have permanent lung damage, among other, serious repercussions they're going to have for the rest of their lives. And he caught the disease!
There was supposed to be a virus that was supposed to come out at the end of 2019 that was going to kill millions, possibly hundreds of millions of people.
Oh, is this the defense now? They're going to say, yeah, he might have fucked up COVID-19, but there was an even worse one that was coming that he did stop.
Trump knew about this. It was developed by Fauci and a bunch of evil people, funded by the Pentagon and evil people in our government. And it was going to be released from Wuhan, China, and the laboratory they have there for viruses. And what did Trump do to stop it? Brilliant move, Trump. I don't know how he stopped it, but...
Then why do you think it happened?
Some way, that virus, he somehow successfully got it to not leak from the lab. They were going to leak this virus, and I don't know if he destroyed the virus or what, but the virus that was supposed to release from the Wuhan lab didn't actually get released. But he triggered all the things that were supposed to happen after the virus. You know, the lockdowns, all this stuff, everything, the fear-mongering, the mask, all these things, the vaccines. As a result, this whole pandemic has been about fear and not actually a deadly virus.
Oh my god, Peter! Over 500,000 people are dead! Go fuck yourself, Peter, you stupid asshole! Medicated person says they telegraphed it with this. Jesus.
In fact, all the deaths are flu deaths in combination
No! No, they are not, Peter!
with a whole bunch of other deaths like a motorcycle accident,
No!
which they claim is the coronavirus, etc. Because hospitals were getting paid
Untrue.
$8,000 to say that this person who died from a motorcycle accident actually died from the coronavirus.
Tea with Goblin says, spend decades plotting to release an evil population-culling virus, then carelessly allowing an idiot real estate tycoon to discover our fiendish plans. Hashtag just cabal things.
And they didn't even need to prove it.
Holy fuck, Peter's a dumb piece of shit.
Or if they did, they would just do a coronavirus test, which would be fake. They're so fake. Like, all the coronavirus tests are completely unreliable. Just do a fake coronavirus test, then say, oh, this person died from the motorcycle guy.
This bothers Baja, too, because Baja, one of the tests they do is PCR, and Baja uses PCR tests. I think, in fact, I don't know, I think it was yesterday, she was going into lab and she was going to run some PCR tests, and whenever someone who's uninformed, uneducated, like Peter, brings up PCR and tries to claim it's unuseful, it pisses her off, understandably so.
They died from the coronavirus, get $8,000 check from the government. And these hospitals, a lot of people weren't going to them, and as a result, they were on the brink of bankruptcy, so they needed this money. Even if they were morally righteous hospital, they're like, we really need this money or we're going to go bankrupt.
Yes, because there's no money in the American healthcare system. Storm Fox says, I watched a documentary that talked about what would aliens from Earth, and the only thing they could come up with is plants because plants. Now I imagine aliens invade Peter's house and just steal his houseplant. Oh, what would aliens want from Earth? Gotcha. Baja says, I do them literally every day, multiple times a day. Like it's just a simple, easy test that we teach undergrads about because it's so simple.
So, there is no virus.
That's untrue. Again, this is a very real threat that has killed, in the United States alone, over 600,000 people. Let's see. We are at 604,000 deaths and 33 million cases. These people who didn't die, it's fortunate that they didn't die, but they're going to have complications probably for the rest of their life. Not good. Luckily, because of the vaccine, numbers are way down. They're back down to like March 2020 numbers, which is wonderful, and I hope that continues to improve, though the Delta variant is now becoming an issue. I'm back to masking up when I go out. I was out today doing stuff for my name change. I wore a mask the whole time. Like, don't take it for granted, people.
Out there, killing people. But there was a deadly virus that was created. And unfortunately, from what I can tell, this virus is going to be released soon. A real deadly virus.
Okay, so start wearing a mask and get a vaccine, Peter.
Will be released soon, unless Trump stops that virus, and he will. That's why there's urgency, why he has to come back, become president this year, to stop that virus and stop the mandatory vaccines that are coming. Now, that is how he stopped the virus. Now, how did he stop the vaccine? Well, this is where the Q operation came in. Like I said, the Q operation had many agendas, had many things it needed to accomplish, but what it did is it prepared hundreds of millions of people, because that's how many people were reading these Q posts and studying. Hundreds of millions. People want to say, oh, it's a fringe, small conspiracy. Not at all. All around the world, people were following Q, studying Q. And what did Q say? Two very important things. Well, a lot of important things, but two important things as related to the vaccines and the pandemic. First of all, Q said that most vaccines are for the population. As you can see,
Q claimed as a source. We did it. Sky Comet Fallen says, how do you think Q people will react when vaccinated people are still alive and healthy a year from now, since we're supposed to die next winter? They'll come up with some bullshit. Donald Trump saved you and you didn't even know about it. He put chemicals in the water that stopped it from killing you, or they'll come up with some other bullshit. They will never ever admit that they were wrong. People don't admit they're wrong. At least not in these cases, the people who tend to fall for stuff like this. Tucker White says, okay, whichever one of you is watching the virus control panel for pandemic, would you please not release the new variants right now? I'd like to take up my old hobby of going to old folks and just breathing on them. Zamsada says, so this is a serious question. I've had 2 family friends and family members test negative for COVID, but ended up in the hospital sometime after that and tested positive. I'm not saying PCR test... I'm not saying the PCR test, you're not saying the PCR test doesn't work, but it seems flawed. Do you and Baja have more info on that type of thing? You'd have to ask Baja. Nick says, what does the Q say? Ring, ding, 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 ding. Let me see. Andrew Patella says, they put chemicals in the water, turned the viruses gay. Bellstar says, he put chemicals in the water that turned the frickin' frogs gay. And now we're caught up.
In this wording that was posted, he said that they use many ways to depopulate people. You know, tobacco, opioids, pharmaceuticals, but vaccines as well. But they specifically say not all.
Pizza. They should use pizza. Everyone eats pizza.
Right now, we don't know exactly which vaccines are safe, but I don't trust any until one comes out that Trump says, like, I'm taking this vaccine.
Trump literally already did that! Trump has been vaccinated for the COVID! Trump got the COVID vaccine! Ah! Peter, you stupid motherfucker! Trump already got the vaccine! Tucker White says, well, we finally broke Hannah. Someone clip that shit. You didn't break me, Peter did.
It's 100% trustworthy. Look, I'm putting in me right now. It's the real vaccine. I won't trust that any vaccine unless that happens. And that hasn't happened. Now, some people say, well, why is Trump so pro-vaccine? Why is it switched? A lot of it has to do with optics. See, people have been programmed to believe that if a pandemic happens, the only way to save the world is vaccines.
It certainly fucking helps, Peter. As we're seeing now, people getting vaccinated is slowing the rate of people catching the disease and dying from the disease.
And because that programming is so intense, and the Q operation, they've tried to deprogram people and be like, guys, vaccines are bad, therefore purpose of depopulation. But they can't convince the whole world. They can't convince billions of people. So as a result, Trump had to let a vaccine come out, because what the vaccine does, even though these COVID vaccines are very harmful and they're going to kill hundreds of millions of people, what it did is it calmed down the population. And calming down the population
Princess Amelia, thank you for gifting us up.
Stabilize the economy. And stabilizing the economy puts the United States in a position where we can fuel our military, and then the U.S. military.
Because as we all know, the United States military has a huge funding problem.
And the Space Force and everything that's funded with the strong U.S. economy can fight and defeat the deep state. So it's a lot more complicated than it sounds. When Trump says, go get your shot, what he's saying is, calm down everyone.
No, he's saying, go get vaccinated, because the vaccine will help stop the spread of the illness that's caused all these issues for the past year and a half.
He's stabilizing the economy to strengthen the military, to use the military to fight the deep state and win. Now, another important thing that the Q operation taught. Q pointed out, this was around 8 or 9 months into the pandemic, they were claiming there was like an increase of, there was like 300,000 or 400,000 COVID deaths, right? Q pointed out, based on accurate CDC data, sometimes the CD is accurate, that overall...
When it supports what I want to believe, then I'll use CDC data, but otherwise, fuck the CDC. That's brilliant. That doesn't make you look like an idiot at all, Peter. It doesn't make you look like a hypocrite, desperately grasping at straws to try and justify your unjustifiable belief, so you can justify murdering your political enemies. Oh, I'm sorry. Peter's a pacifist. He just wants the military to go out and kill his political enemies for him. Totally different. Did we already have that's not how science works?
Overall, the amount of deaths, even with the COVID deaths added, there was no increase, which means there's no increase.
There has been an increase in deaths, Peter.
In deaths in the United States, even though we're in a pandemic. Now, what does that mean? Well, if, let's say, 3 million Americans die every year, well, with COVID, it should be 3.3. In fact, it was less. It was a few thousand less than what it was the previous year, which means this deadly virus that we were told exists and that was killing people, it didn't exist. That's what Q was pointing out.
I saw a post, I think yesterday, about the definition of stupidity, which I found very interesting, and I think it's applicable to a lot of the things we cover. And I think it defines stupidity basically as completely divorced from intelligence, because you can be intelligent and be very stupid, or you can be not so intelligent and not stupid. But I like this definition of stupidity, and that's someone who harms others with no personal gain to themselves. That's their definition of stupid that I read yesterday. Basically meaning, if someone comes and robs you, on the street, they're harming you, but you at least understand their motive. They're trying to enrich themselves in some way. That's not stupid, it's just evil. But it's stupid to harm and impede others with no benefit to yourself or anyone else, right? You're just being an idiot. And Peter is a perfect example of this. Peter and people like him they have absolutely nothing to gain, and in fact are hurting themselves by falling for these conspiracies, and they're hurting everyone else in the world. This is stupid. This is stupidity. 4-ounce XXX, thanks for subscribing for 3 months, says the most impressive thing is how this much crazy fits into such a small mind.
Out by saying, guys, even with the CDC's own data.
Oh, and Stormfox, thanks for the bit, says, does Peter not understand chain reactions? Because Peter, we get less death in other ways because of the pandemic and not going out. Yeah, if what he's saying is even true, which when I checked, I don't think it was, but certain deaths are going to be less. I imagine, road incidents, like traffic accident deaths, are going to be way lower because people aren't out as often, fewer flights, people less in contact with each other, so other diseases are going to be less, like the flu. Yeah, there's a variety of reasons.
There has been no increase in deaths. If there's no increase in deaths, that means there is no coronavirus that's killing people, except for obviously the flu virus. That's why the flu, as my sister, who's a nurse, literally said, where did the flu go?
The flu has lower instances this year because people are wearing masks and social distancing and living inside, you fucking idiot. And if your sister is a nurse and said that, she should have her license removed for being stupid.
Where did the flu this year go? No one's getting the flu. Well, because it's always been labeled as...
I'm so sick of hearing stories about nurses saying dumb shit and not understanding medicine at all. Like, those people should not be allowed to be nurses. Mike Max says, Peter, New World Order is bad, but I want Trump to take control of the world. Kirthan says, my sister, who's a nurse, has the same vibe as my wife, who's a doctor.
COVID-19.
And yes, the flu is not a coronavirus.
So, the two important things as related to this conversation that Q taught millions of people is that vaccines are for depopulating the world, and there is no deadly virus going out and killing people. And this is very important because when Q teaches this to digital soldiers like me, I go out and I teach this to as many people as possible. So long story short, Trump had to bring out the vaccines and do it quickly. Now, specifically regarding the vaccine strategy, Trump managed to do two things. First of all, in rushing the vaccines with Operation Warp Speed, what he did is that in rushing the vaccines to get out, he accomplished two things. One of them I know is a fact, one of them is my opinion. The one that is my opinion is that it was going to take a long time to create extremely deadly vaccines. And when Trump rushed it, they didn't have enough time to create really, really deadly vaccines.
Peter, that doesn't even make sense. The United States government did not develop the vaccines. They were developed by private companies in other countries.
The vaccines are still deadly. They're still very harmful. They're still going to do a lot of damage.
No, they're not. They're good. Go get the vaccine to prevent yourself from catching a disease that will be bad for you.
But they're, in my opinion, they could have been much worse if evil scientists, had 6 years.
Evil scientist. Peter thinks the world works like a Saturday morning cartoon. Tucker White says, pretend for a moment that vaccines are actually killing people. That just makes Trump look like a fucking sociopath for allowing it to happen. Yeah.
To actually develop them and make them very,
He hurts your brain. He hurts my brain too. Oh, we're on a hype train again.
very harmful. The second thing that Trump did with Operation Warp Speed, this is not my opinion, this is a fact.
He's about to say something that absolutely isn't a fact. I almost guarantee it.
Is he rushed them out in a way where they didn't get FDA approval. And
They got FDA approval, Peter. They got emergency use FDA approval. You stupid, stupid, stupid man.
as a result, if vaccines don't get FDA approval, they're considered experimental vaccines. And as a result, you cannot make them mandatory. So 2 important things. He weakened the damaging effect of the COVID vaccines, and he made it...
I think one of them actually got fully approved now anyway. Not sure which one, though.
He made it so that they cannot be forced on people. In combination with teaching people that the vaccines are for depopulation purposes, and then training millions and millions, tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions of people to be digital soldiers to spread the information out there that, guys, be careful with the vaccine. And then when Trump says, go get your shot, that's more complicated. That's disinformation.
That would be stupid, though, Peter, because people would certainly listen to him and go and get it anyway, and he would be murdering people. Again, none of that's true, because the vaccine's good, and you should get it. But what I am saying is, Trump would be killing people if he were saying that, and what you were saying was true, which it is not. Big Sweet Demon with 100 bits says, bits for hype, thank you.
As Q also taught, disinformation is necessary. We're playing...
Peter, Q is a con artist. You have been conned.
What's going on is extremely complicated. As a result, Trump does
We're almost 7 months into the Biden presidency, Peter.
have to put out stuff that seems a little contradictory. You know, before the election, he was like, vaccines are bad. After election, he says, go get your vaccine
It's almost like Donald Trump is an opportunist narcissist who will say whatever makes him look the best at the moment to the audience he's talking to.
shot.
Fresno 12, thanks for gifting a sub. 87% of level 1.
It's contradictory because it's all for optics, calming people down. And now as a result...
And as we all know, Donald Trump was very good at calming everyone down. Ran the Fool, thanks for gifting a sub.
The virus that was going to kill hundreds of millions of people, it wasn't released. And the vaccines that were going to kill billions of people were weakened and made non-mandatory, made completely voluntary, in combination with all this teaching of us that we should be very careful with vaccines, don't take them. If he hadn't done that, 99% of the population, at least in the US, would have gotten the vaccines.
Tucker White says, and I thought John Doyle was infuriating.
Shut up, shut up, shut up! Jesus Christ, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Please, just shut up!
Right now, it stands at 66%. So luckily, he was able to inform 33% of the US
33% of Americans are idiots. And that's a pretty generous assessment, if I'm being honest.
population, approximately,
Nick says, make it 69.
that the vaccine is dangerous. Even though he says, go get your shot, don't get it. It's just for optics. Vaccines are actually harmful. And he recently came
No, they are not.
out with an anti-vax stance as related to the
He literally said go get the vaccine like yesterday or the day before, whichever day he had that rally.
COVID vaccine, when he said, I think it's a bad idea I think it's a bad idea to make it mandatory for children to get a vaccine, the COVID experimental vaccines, just to go to school.
Okay, I think that's stupid too. Assuming it gets approved for children. I think it got approved for teens. I'm not sure what age it's been approved for children yet. But that's still a stupid stance. But that's not an outright anti-vax stance, Peter, especially coupled with the fact that he told everyone else to go get the vaccine. Bellum Guardian says it's actually fucking terrifying that an entire third of the population was able to be influenced by this Q misinformation conspiracy stuff. I don't think everyone who's not getting vaccinated is a QAnon person. There's been anti-vax rhetoric going on for decades. It's destructive and bad, but it's not all attributable to QAnon. If I had to guess, it's probably closer to 10 to 15% of the population believes in QAnon, which is still way too much. That's millions and millions of people. It's not good, but it's fewer than a third.
So it's not like he's been totally pro-COVID vaccine. He has been enough for optics to calm down the public because we've been programmed to believe that the vaccine will solve everything, calm everything down, and it has calmed everything down, even though it's doing
It's almost like it's effective. Weird.
a lot of damage. But he's drawn a hard line. Don't poison our children. Don't make it mandatory for these children to go back to school. And what's very interesting about all this is that Majestic 12 has pointed out that on many planets, vaccines are used for depopulation.
The Men in Black said vaccines are used on alien planets to do evil, therefore they must be on Earth too. Good source. Zimsada says it's hard to see who's vaccinated or not at my hospital since the vaccinated colored stickers are small on name tags and everyone is required to wear masks and protective glasses while in the halls. At this point, I don't care if you are or aren't. I know it's an unpopular opinion here, but I think as long as everyone is using proper PPE, it should be contained well enough by all the vaccinated out there. My state hasn't had a COVID death in a week, and we're like 70% vaxxed. I'm so happy. I'm glad the vaccination rates are so high there, but frankly, I think everyone who works at a hospital, unless they have some allergy or some reason they can't get the vaccine, I think it should be mandatory for hospital workers at minimum. Stormfox999 with bits says Peter needs to be kicked in. Nope, can't read that. Anonymous Gifter, thanks for gifting a sub. Joey is strong, thanks for gifting a sub. Logarth with 30 bits says, Dear America, you're waking up as Germany once did. The awareness of the third of your people would kill another third while a third watches. Werner Herzog. Yep.
This is a common theme across the universe.
30 seconds left with 86% of the hype train. We might die on this hype train. D-Thumb with 30 bits says, it's amazing how little critical thinking ability Peter has. I don't understand how someone makes it to this age like this. I mean, he's lived with his parents his whole life, so that probably helps. Princess Amelia with 100 bits.
And these vaccines are not on these other planets that are used for depopulation. They're never about protecting you from a virus. They're all about depopulating.
Died before level 2. Pretty close, though. Thank you, everyone.
The planet. Populating the planet to create a slave society, to create a reduced population that's more easily controllable. So we're very, very lucky because Trump is literally, Team Trump is literally saving billions of lives.
No, Trump actually helped kill hundreds of thousands of people by his inaction on COVID early on, so thanks, Peter.
And
you support someone who helped kill a ton of people. Good job.
Fortunately, this strategy does involve millions of people dying from the vaccine and him having to promote the vaccine a little bit. But don't get so angry at
Again, I find it funny that even in his delusional fantasies, Donald Trump is responsible for the deaths of a ridiculous number of people. Like, even in his fantasies, Donald Trump isn't a good guy.
him for promoting the vaccine. Believe me when I say that Team Trump is doing an extremely brilliant strategy to save the world, save Earth, and that has to involve promoting the vaccine for optics to calm everyone down. So now you know that Trump is literally saving 7.3 billion lives.
He's not.
Team Trump is saving 7.3 billion lives, and that the original deadly virus was not released, but from what I hear from Majestic 12, it will be released. The one that they created, a really deadly version of the one they created, could be released in the future.
Oh boy, I guess you should start wearing a mask then, Peter, huh?
If Team Trump doesn't stop it. But he will. Don't worry, he will. Just the other day in his Ohio speech, he said, I'll be back sooner than you think. And he says this over again, our brightest days are just ahead. You know, I'll be in the White House sooner than you think. Everything's better. I'm going back soon, just ahead, you know. He's being crystal clear. He will return. He will save America. He is saving America. He is saving the world. So have faith in Trump. I understand that the strategy is very complicated, but the Q operation was designed, one of its purposes was to educate people and inform people that when Trump says, go get your shot, it's disinformation and it's necessary. When Trump...
Stormfox says, could Peter explain why robots aren't better than slaves in every way? I asked Peter about this I was going to ask that, but I sort of worded it in a different way, in that I basically asked Peter, okay, why humans? Why do they need human slaves? And surprise, the answer was he thinks aliens want to use humans as sex slaves. So there's that. Oh, and to eat us. They're going to use us like cattle to eat us and to fuck us. So that's Peter's thoughts on what the aliens want to do with humans.
Does all these strategic moves that don't make sense to you, if you study Majestic 12, what Trump's saying, and also what Q's saying very clearly, and I personally have read all the Q posts and studied them. I have read all the Majestic 12 posts. I'm talking about almost 20,000 posts that I've studied. And so on top of listening to all of Trump's speeches, this gives me a very accurate perspective to put in all these puzzle pieces together and say, this was the cabal's plan to kill 7.3 billion people with vaccines and deadly viruses. This is how Trump saved the world from those biological weapons.
That's going to be my research on the bingo card, by the way, because he's talking about like him searching, you know, that's my research. I'll count that. Big Sweet Demon says, I really love the idea that aliens gave us beds that can de-age us and fix our brains, but are hilariously bad at making sex toys. And Bitter Grin says, wait, if the aliens are going to eat us, wouldn't they not want to reduce our population with an evil vaccine? I don't know. Don't try and read logic into it. It's not logical. It's complete nonsense.
And now... it's all going to work out.
Population control on the bingo card, which I already marked off, but yes.
It's all going to be great. We can relax. But as been said by Team Trump very often, get involved. It's true that nothing can stop what is coming, and no matter what, whether you get involved or not, we will win. But God is looking down and find out who are traitors, who are patriots, who are the people who are just saying, oh, I'll let someone else save, and who are the people who are stepping up, sacrificing. We're working hard to educate people, to wake people up. God's paying very close attention, and there is a lot of karma involved in this. If you join Team Trump, the Trump train, and
karma isn't a Christian concept, Peter,
and you help him save the world, that's incredible karma that's really going to benefit you. And if you don't, that is a huge missed opportunity.
Bellum Guardian says, if God is on your side, Peter, then why doesn't God stop the aliens, right?
It may even be bad karma, the fact that billions of people's lives are at stake and you're just standing back and not doing anything. And there's so many different things you can do.
I'm going to say him talking about karma counts as poor understanding of Eastern philosophy or religion.
Tweet information out. You can talk to your neighbor, educate your friends. You can donate to Trump. You can donate to me. Donate to...
Not a grift. Hashtag not a grift.
To conservative shows. Donate to the audit. There's so many ways you can donate, support, talk, spread information. We are all superheroes that are helping Trump save the world.
Delusions of grandeur. I gotta add there's so many things I need to add to the bingo card. Delusions of grandeur needs to go on there for sure.
And this is the most amazing time in history, and I'm so happy that Trump has come in and saved the world. So this is how Trump is saving the world. And thank God he is, because if he hadn't, by 2030, there'd be less than 1 billion people left on Earth. So, guys, appreciate him, support him. What's happening right now is a big deal. And just because you don't understand Trump's strategy or because things aren't moving fast enough, that doesn't mean things aren't happening or the plan has gone wrong. Trust the plan, trust the man, trust Trump. It's all working out. And if you want to know more information, thank you all for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you're wondering why I have this back in my necklace, I thought, you know, I shouldn't just care. I shouldn't just bow down to the snowflakes who are offended that there's
No one's offended by the jacket, Peter. It's just funny that you're openly wearing the stuff from your gun cult that you're a part of. Pyromancer, thanks for gifting a sub, and to Baja too. It's Mr. Brick, thanks for subscribing with Prime. Appreciate it.
gun on my necklace, or there's a gun on my hoodie. Like, honestly, I'm just gonna be myself. People,
I don't care, Peter, that there's guns on them. I don't necessarily have a problem with gun ownership, believe it or not. I have a problem with cults, though, and gun cults in particular are scary.
get offended, let them be offended. At the end of the day, this is who I am. This is who I really am. And I'm trying to
A cult member. Fun.
help people, and I'm really hoping I can help people and convince people to join me in helping Trump save the world. Everything is working out, patriots. Let's celebrate. Let's support Trump. Let's be happy. Keep vibrations high. It's all working out. Trump will be president again very soon. Because as Trump said, something has to happen this year. Our brightest days.
Have you guys ever heard the nursery rhyme, Peter, Peter, Pumpkin Eater, had a wife and couldn't keep her? That's been stuck in my head, but with the words, Peter, Peter, bullshit believer, had a wife but couldn't keep her. So if Peter's wife could divorce him so that rhyme would make more sense when it gets stuck in my head, I'd appreciate it, and so would your kids, probably.
Days are just ahead. I'll be back in the White House sooner than you think. And he means it, because if he isn't, the real deadly virus
Trump believer also works. Sure, Peter, Peter, Trump believer. That's pretty good.
that was intended to kill hundreds of millions of people will be released, and that's going to be a real pandemic that I will be absolutely scared of. And
Stormfox says none of Peter's kids have the vaccine, do they? That's pretty bad. Yeah, none of them do.
running away from and doing whatever I can to avoid, but not vaccines and masks, because masks don't stop viruses, and vaccines don't
What an idiot.
stop viruses either, at least not the ones they've been giving out. So there are other ways, you know, eating a good diet, being healthy, exercising, vitamin C, zinc, lots of other natural ways to boost your immune system and protect you from the virus.
No! Get vaccinated.
But he will come back. He will save America.
Yeah, Peter has 3 kids.
He will
His third was just born last week.
save the whole world. So thank you for the viewer. Thank you, Trump, Team Trump, and thank you, God. We are all winning, and God wins.
That's the end of the video. Solid dismount, Peter. Princess Amelia says, wasn't Peter's video supposed to be about Q? It seems to have been about everything but Q. He more talked about the vaccines, and how he thinks, well, this stuff was all Q stuff, and he thinks that Q is anti-vax, which, and probably they are, but it's a scam, so it doesn't really matter. So that's what Peter's up to. The birth of his 3rd child has not helped him get in touch with reality. That's unfortunate. He wants to have more conversations in the future, though, so I guess we'll keep checking in. Come on, Cassie. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come say hi to the people. The audience loves you, Cassia. Come on. Yeah, come here. That certainly is your butthole. Hi. Yep. There's the butthole again. Hi, Cassie. Yeah. Yeah? What do you think of Peter, Cassie? Hmm? Yeah? Yeah, I don't think he's too bright either. She's having a lot of opinions right now. Oh yeah, she's a big talker. What do you have to say, Cassie? Speak to your audience. Yeah? Yeah? Come here, look. Look at this thing. Doesn't this look fun? Your sister likes this. Yeah? Yeah? Yes? Anything else? Before I move on to some other bullshit? No? Okay. Well, thank you for your opinion, Cassie.